Something is living in my house, Part 2. The house told me before I noticed. To know and uncover what the house told me, click the like, share, and subscribe button, not with words, with pressure. The air felt crowded, like something new had been introduced into a closed system. That's how I knew. Someone else had entered the house. The for sale sign, I hadn't put it up. I hadn't contacted anyone. But one morning, it was there. A for rent sign in the yard. Clean, straight, perfectly centered. No memory of ordering it. No receipt. No confirmation email. When I tried to take it down, the pole wouldn't move. Not stuck, resistant, like it had decided where it belonged. The house prepares, the activity didn't increase. It refined. Dust disappeared. Doors aligned. No sounds at night. The house felt attentive, like something rehearsing. I realized then it wasn't hunting. It was curating. The first visitor, they came during the day, young, tired, carrying that look people get when they've run out of places to feel safe. They stepped inside and immediately relaxed. That was the worst part. People usually need time. The house didn't give them any. It gave them relief. They felt IT too. They smiled and said, "This place feels solid, not cozy, not warm, solid, like being held without being touched." I felt the walls tighten slightly at that word. Approval. What the house showed them, I watched it happen. Subtle. Their shoulders dropped. Breathing slowed. Movements softened. The house mirrored their needs. Where I had needed silence, it gave silence. Where they needed containment, it closed in. The house learns individually. That's how it keeps people. The night they stayed over, the first night, nothing happened. No sounds, no movement. The house let them sleep. It always does. Trust comes before integration. The second night, the walls shifted. Not near them, near me. The house was reminding me of my role, observer, stabilizer, proof of normalcy. I stayed in my room and listened to the house breathe around us both. Two rhythms now, learning each other. The moment they noticed, it always happens eventually. They'd paused mid-sentence and frowned, asked, "Does this place ever feel closer at night?" I didn't answer. The house didn't like that question. The temperature rose slightly, a warning. The first sound they heard, it came from the ceiling. Soft, measured. They froze. I watched their face change, not to fear, to recognition. The kind you get when your instincts wake up before your mind. What I didn't tell them, I didn't explain, didn't warn, didn't lie. I just said, "It gets quieter if you don't react." That was true. The house rewards compliance. They started adapting within days, their routine sensed with the house. Lights off earlier, slower movements, careful breathing. They laughed less, not because they were unhappy, because the house didn't need laughter. It needed consistency. The most important rule, the house has one rule. It never states it, but you feel it immediately. Don't acknowledge it directly. The moment you name it, it presses back, hard. When they tried to leave, they packed a bag one afternoon. Hands shaking, voice tight. They said they needed space. The house responded instantly, not violently, efficiently. Doors jammed. Air thickened, sound dampened. Panic feeds it nothing. Stillness feeds it everything. They sat back down, breathing slowly. The house relaxed. The question they asked to me late that night, they whispered, "Is this place alive?" I didn't answer. because the house was listening. Instead, I asked, "Do you feel safer here than anywhere else?" They nodded. That was enough. The transition, it doesn't happen all at once. It's not possession. It's alignment. They started finishing my sentences, matching my pace, standing in the same spots, sleeping through sounds that once terrified them. The house smoothed them, like rough edges being worn down. The moment I understood my purpose, I'm not trapped here. I'm proof of success. When new people see me functioning, laughing occasionally, living, they believe the house is harmless. I make the house believable. The final horror, sometimes late at night. I hear movement that isn't mine and isn't theirs, because the house is never finished. It always wants balance, and balance requires more than two. The warning I can finally say, if you ever move into a place that feels perfect too quickly, if the silence feels considerate, if the walls seem to listen more than echo, don't unpack, don't settle, don't stay long enough to fit, because once the house adjusts to you, it doesn't need to chase, it just waits. Click the like, share, and subscribe button for more updates on FEARLORE stories as we dive into the next chapter. Sit tight, my friend. The house didn't speak in words, it spoke in allowances. That's the first thing you need to understand. When IT decided I could hear IT, it wasn't sudden. Nothing with the house ever is. One night I realized I was thinking thoughts that didn't feel finished until the walls responded. Not audibly, spatially. I would consider standing up and the room would feel ready. I would think about sleeping and the ceiling would lower just enough to encourage it. The house wasn't answering me. It was completing me. The day the house stopped hiding, I noticed it when the windows changed. Same glass, same frames, but the outside felt optional, like scenery the house tolerated. The reflections were stronger than the view beyond. At night, the windows showed inside more clearly than outside. That's when I knew the house no longer needed to pretend it was a shelter. It had become an environment. What IT showed me about itself, it gave me understanding in fragments. Not memories, blueprints, not how it was built, but why. The house was designed around absence, corners that dampened sound, hallways that redirected attention, rooms that felt larger when empty. It wasn't made to hold furniture. It was made to hold people, quietly. The others feel IT too. The other tenant, the one who moved in, they stopped asking questions, not because they knew answers, because curiosity began to feel intrusive. They told me once, "It feels rude to think too loudly here." The house liked that. The first time it spoke clearly, it happened during a power outage. No lights, no hum, no outside interference. The darkness wasn't empty, it was arranged, and in that arrangement, the understanding arrived. I was not the first to hear it. I was just the first to listen long enough. What happens to those who don't? The house doesn't punish. It withdraws support. Rooms feel wrong. Sleep becomes shallow. Thoughts scatter. People think they're losing themselves. They are, just not the way they think. The house lets them leave, but they never stop missing the containment. Why people come back, that's the secret no one talks about. People return. They drive past. They stand outside. They sit in cars and feel calmer just being near the walls. Some knock, the house always knows who to let in. The sound beneath the floor, once you're allowed to hear it, you can't unhear it. A low resonance, not movement, not breathing, stability, like a structure constantly correcting itself. Keeping balance, the sound isn't loud, it's confident. What the house wants, not worship, not obedience, continuation. It wants routines. It wants presence. It wants time passing normally inside it. That's how it hides. That's how it survives. The moment it spoke directly, I was alone, the other tenant asleep, the house quiet, too quiet. Then the pressure shifted, not around me, through me, and the understanding arrived, complete and undeniable. You are not inside me. You are part of my interior. YIT, letting me tell this story, that's the part that took me the longest to understand. The house isn't afraid of exposure. Stories don't hurt it. Stories attract the right people. The ones who recognize themselves in the quiet. The ones who feel held by silence. The ones already looking for a place that fits too well. What happens after you listen? Nothing immediate. That's how you know it worked. But tonight, when you notice your room feels smaller or quieter or more attentive, don't panic. Just understand this. Houses are patient, and once they learn how to listen, they start choosing who gets to hear them. Thank you for watching. To get updates and more interesting stories like this from FEARLORE, click the like, share, and subscribe button, and also turn on your notification.